Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Crictime Podcast. It's been a while, a few weeks since we recorded one, but if for those of you guys who have been subscribed on our YouTube channel and have been watching us daily upload content on our YouTube channel as well as Instagram as well as Twitter, must know that we've been uploading those clips every day, shorts and all forms of content covering the Asia Cup as well as all the cricket that's been going around us. Today, joining me on the episode is Suyash. Welcome to the podcast, Suyash, and a bit of a background of him. I met him through the Chelsea Lucknow kind of chat, and we spoke over the live stream that I was doing on Pakistan. As I mentioned on there, I'm more than happy to have people on the podcast and have discussions with people, because at the end of the day, this is not a podcast about technical analysis. This is not a podcast about celebrities coming on. It's about two or three fans supporting India, watching cricket, just joining in and giving their opinions and thoughts on a lot of the things that we kind of see from the outside as fans. But at the same time, so yeah, things have not been good for us as cricket fans, as Chelsea fans. क्या करें हम लोग?
नहीं यार मतलब देखो अभी फुटबॉल स्टार्टेड राइट लाइक
Yeah,
3-4 गेम वीक्स वी आर डाउन एंड लाइक it's literally I was very hopeful but things have not been good and then on the cricket side of things it's just been rain and rain. I mean Ireland series तो पता ही नहीं चली कब खत्म हो गई and now this Asia Cup as well, both the Indian games have been ruined by rain, so I
yeah.
mean yeah, very frustrating, man.
Yeah, it is, and we're not going to dive too much into football because I know अगर हम लोगों ने start किया तो हम
Yeah.
लोग खत्म नहीं कर पाएंगे, and we'll just start ranting about how bad Chelsea has been this season. And all of you guys who watch Chelsea as well and watch this podcast, make sure to leave a like rating on this podcast. But at the same time, let's dive straight into the discussion. And आज का main discussion, obviously, Asia Cup होगा. But before that, let's talk about the World Cup squad that's been announced by India just today, and not a lot different from the Asia Cup squad that we saw, and it was kind of expected. For those who watched some of the clips that I uploaded throughout this week, I talked about the lack of selection from Yuzvendra Chahal, who was going to go to the Asian Games instead of the World Cup, and comparatively to the 2019 squad, there's about what 8 players that I can kind of pick out that have been missing from the 2019 World Cup squad, and obviously a few of them who've actually retired as well. Mahendra Singh Dhoni being one of them, and the major one that I think should have been dropped out on, and I think you'll agree on this as well, is KL Rahul. I don't know how he's gotten selected over some of the players and the options that we've got for this, and considering he hasn't even played 2 games in the Asia Cup yet, and he's considered to be fit. Sanju Samsung is sitting outside, and KL Rahul injured team में बैठा हुआ है. क्या सेंस बनती है भाई इस बात की?
देखो टू बी फेयर टू केएल राहुल, ओडीआई में नंबर 5 पे ही हैज बीन नॉट दैट बैड बट ओवरऑल अगर उसका देखें मतलब इन जनरल टीम में एक जो होता है ना फॉर एवरी प्लेयर्स मोरल कि भाई आप अपनी टीम में प्लेस अर्न करो, वो चीज होती नहीं है केएल राहुल के साथ एंड इट्स बीन हैपनिंग सिंस लाइक 4-5 years एंड इट्स वेरी फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग फॉर अ फैन टू बी ऑनेस्ट क्योंकि मतलब आई डोंट सी हिम यू नो of domestic games or even for Lucknow Super Giants, he was not, he was injured very early in the season. So what proof do you have that he'll come into the World Cup and perform? He may perform, but you cricket works on stats and cricket works on experience, and I don't think we should be allowing him this early. And now Kishan, after that innings that he has played, he literally took us out from a mess. वो तो मैच खराब हो गया बट इट कुड हैव बीन अ मैच विनिंग नॉक टू बी ऑनेस्ट एंड अब ऐसी परफॉर्मेंस किशन की आ गई है एंड अगेन क्वेश्चंस विल बी रेज्ड टू आई मीन केएल राहुल आई डोंट थिंक ही शुड बी गिवन अ स्ट्रेट अवे गो हेड फ्रॉम द हॉस्पिटल.
वही मेरा सबसे पहला सवाल आता है. इट्स लाइक, अगर आप एक प्लेयर को इंजरी से लाते हो, and the last thing you want to do is put him straight into a World Cup against Australia, against England, against Pakistan, without having played cricket for so long. He's had a surgery. Obviously, he must have been in rehab. He must have been practicing behind the scenes. But वो जो एक fear होता है, या वो not fear, but I guess pressure that you kind of experience during a match, in front of a crowd where you've got 60, 70,000 fans cheering for you, judging every single shot that you take, is a very different kind of scenario. And no doubt
Absolutely.
his IPL stats are great as well to speak about. But when you talk about ODI cricket as an opener, I don't think KL Rahul has been as successful as he should have. He could have been, I must say, and especially in important games. I think India का एक kind of pattern ban gaya hai ki group stages mein we do well because there are a few weak teams we can score against, strong teams against, we lose a game or two and we say theek hai we made it to the top 4, and semi-finals mein aake we have this one excuse of the conditions weren't good for us, it's a one-off game, it's anything can happen, 4 years of preparation doesn't matter in a semi-final. It does matter when you have a core
It
team,
does.
it does matter. कोई सेमीफाइनल हम लोगों ने लास्ट 5 years में देखा है या 7 years, आई मस्ट से 2017 की चैंपियंस लीग ट्रॉफी भी हम लोग ऐसे ही
Women's
हारे
trophy
थे. तो
final.
all the way back when I go and I look at this, I'm like, every semi-final, what's the same pattern? Top order collapse, top order collapse, top order,
Hmm.
exactly the same. And this goes for Kohli, this goes for Sharma as well to a certain extent. ठीक है, Kohli saved us in the Pakistan game in the T20 tournament last year, T20 World Cup. But when I look at it and I go, yeah, these three players have been consistently playing for India since the last 10 years. And in those 10 years, every semi-final we've played, every big game we've played, including the test matches as well, these players have not performed or not performed to the ability that they're able to or they do in other matches. Rohit Sharma in that World Cup, last World Cup, made 5 centuries. So semi-final mein, for him to say conditions weren't according to us, yeah, it's a one-off game, is unacceptable. Yeah, if you're scoring 5 centuries, you're in the form of your life. So you should be scoring those kind of things. So for me, it's about India making sure they get the right 11 onto the field rather than thinking about previous experiences, previous matches, या like शुभमन गिल का रिकॉर्ड अहमदाबाद में अच्छा है, चलो उसको ओपनिंग दे देते हैं. It doesn't work like that. It works on the basis of कौन perform ज़्यादा अच्छा कर रहा है, who can lead that team and take you to the next level, because in those matches that's what you kind of need. So I'll say KL Rahul select हो गए तो गए, but कहीं ना कहीं I feel like at least opening तो नहीं करेगा, because we've got Shubman Gill to open and he can't play anywhere else. So it's going to be something to do with the number 5 position, and it'll be between Surya and KL Rahul to see who gets picked. Because for me, I think Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill open, Virat Kohli at 3. I would even say try Virat Kohli at number 4. मैंने उस दिन कहा था एक वीडियो पे, और उस दिन पाकिस्तान के अगेंस्ट मैंने कहा था यार, let's try Virat Kohli at number 4. What's the loss in that? And give him more time to come in, because realistically, Virat Kohli coming in at number 4 after a top order collapse is still as good as number 2, number 3 position. तो मुझे
एक्चुअली क्या है कि हमारे फैन बेस के लिए विराट कोहली इज अ वेरी टची टॉपिक.
हाँ.
And you can't just shift his position as a coach if you are in the shoes of like Rahul Dravid. And let's say if it backfires, then all the questions will be on him. Like he has performed like throughout his career at number 3. Why would you change him at, to number 4 in a World Cup? So I think that would be a scenario. But yeah, definitely I think you can always try him. I think we'll have practice games, right? We can definitely try a couple of things there.
Exactly. I want to see that happening. And it's nice to see Kuldeep Yadav and Akshar Patel return to the squad. I think Kuldeep has had a good IPL. And surprisingly, a lot of people were like, Chahal is probably going to get selected over Kuldeep because of the skills that he has and the calculations he can do in his brain to be able to get wickets quite easily. But I think Kuldeep, seeing him back is quite nice to see, because obviously he replaces Chahal, and we all do feel for him. Chahal is still a great player,
Yeah.
and he's been in and out of the team. He hasn't had his big chance to prove himself, and somewhere you do feel for him, but at the same time he's got a chance. He's still gonna go to the Asian Games, I think, from what I hear.
Yeah.
The Asian Games squad, so it'll be good for him to get some more cricket under his belt. What are your thoughts on Kuldeep coming in instead of Chahal?
Yeah, I feel for Chahal, man. I remember in the T20 World Cup as well. I think it was the last year or last to last year where Chahal was suddenly dropped
Hmm.
when the World Cup squad came out and Ashwin was picked up out of nowhere. So I mean, nothing against Ashwin. He's a great legend of our game, but uh, from Chahal is like a mystery spinner. I think the only thing that goes against him is that he can't hold the bat. I mean, he literally. I mean, I don't know how he grew up.
Hmm.
I mean, even if you play gully cricket, you know how to at least score a boundary. I mean, whenever he comes to the crease, you feel like he'll just be bold the next delivery. So I think that is the confidence that's lacking in the captain, and which Kuldeep, on the other hand, at least. I mean, Kuldeep also can't do much, but at least
Hmm.
he stays on the crease
Hmm.
when needed. So I think चहल का वही हो गया है कि मतलब बैटिंग में his contribution is nil. Although I think both of them are mystery spinners. I would have loved to see Kulcha there, but as you said, top order collapse. So I think
Hmm.
अब रोहित शर्मा को confidence नहीं बचा, and he wants someone at number 8 who can bat and score 20-30 runs.
भाई अब हम लोग की वही होप रह गई है कि बॉलर से बैटिंग करवा के जितने रन्स मिल जाएं जस्ट टू सेव our
Yeah,
image in front of everyone else.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, what I'm surprised about most is that India has only opted for three spinners, or three, I should say, natural spinners. Obviously, there are a few other players who can jump in if needed, if need be. But only having Jadeja, Kuldeep, and Akshar in the team, I would have thought India would have gone with four spinners and just three fast bowlers. And the reason I say that is because what Shardul brings in into the team as a batter and as a pace bowler is quite great, and it's quite effective as well for India in the middle overs. You need that kind of bowler who can slow the innings down alongside Hardik. You can kind of play him out. But if I have someone like Hardik in my team, I might just go for that extra spinner because India में spin pitches है. We all know that. और कहीं ना कहीं if you play I think what India will try and do is play two pacers and then have Hardik as well as Shardul in the team to kind of have those 40 overs of availability of medium and fast paced bowling, and then obviously two spinners to go with if they need to play spin. But is that maybe a bit of a dangerous game where for the rest of the 30 overs that you're not bowling spin, you're kind of exposed? Because ball पहले
Uh,
5 ओवर 10 ओवर तो कुछ करेगी, उसके
uh,
बाद तो डेथ में maybe that might not be the case, and what we saw in the T20 World Cup a lot of times with Arshdeep and who was it? I think was it Siraj as well, who was getting smacked all over the ground towards the end, 19th 18th over. India were really getting hammered everywhere. Hopefully that doesn't happen with India.
I think there is a recency bias here, which I kind of think is unfortunate. Somehow in Sri Lanka and Pakistan, the pitch has not helped the spinners much. I don't know why. I mean, I've been watching
Hmm.
cricket since 25 years, and this is the first time I'm seeing that spinners are getting hammered in Sri Lanka and Pakistan. And I don't know, could that be a reason why they have not gone for the fourth spinner? Because if you see Akshar and Jadeja, both they are not wicket taking bowlers, right?
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
won't they'll slow things down, but they won't they won't get you 3-4 wickets all of a sudden, like someone like Chahal or Kuldeep would do. And in combination, if it clicks, then they are like the most ruthless, I think, spin duo after, I think, the Afghanistan duo. So I don't know. I mean, I do feel that there's some recency bias in this selection because uh, World Cup will happen in India, right? I mean, Indian pitches, we all know that they are for spinners, and I don't know, man. It can definitely backfire. I mean, if you see like what the the 11 that they're trying to pick, I think they'll keep only two spinners. One will be
Hmm.
all-rounder and one will be Kuldeep. So I don't know how good a strategy is that. I think such a strategy would work in Australia or England, but in India, you definitely need two proper spinners, which I don't know, man.
Exactly,
It's
because
really risky.
हाँ, because October में I think last time was it, when was it, a few years back, October में IPL हुआ था when it was in India. The half of it was held in India, and I think half of it was in Dubai or something along those lines. And it was around the same time as this. And we saw quite a huge difference between bowlers' averages in India and the amount of runs bowlers were conceding in India compared to in Dubai. And it was quite certain that दोनों जगह fast-paced bowlers were being hit all over the ground, and it was the spinners who were kind of contributing towards the wickets and slowing those things down. So for India, it'll be very dangerous to, it can really backfire here because fast bowling options बहुत है. And
Mm.
and if they focus on batting and say ठीक है हम लोग का top order collapse बहुत बार हुआ है, we might need someone like Kuldeep at 8, then you have that 9 10 11, who do you go with? You've got three pacers, and Shami का record India में काफी अच्छा है actually. IPL में इस बार भी he played quite well, so that's a bonus given. We know Siraj's pace and accuracy is quite accurate, and then Bumrah, obviously the we don't really need to highlight what he's capable of doing, not just in India but all over the world. So it's a very tough decision for Indian,
Yeah.
for Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma to sit there before every game and think about what's right and what they need to kind of pick about. But it's something that we'll obviously keep discussing throughout when the World Cup starts, and when we get closer to the World Cup, we'll try and do a kind of a squad review for each of these teams and have more opinions. Have hopefully I'll try and see if you can get a Pakistani cricket fan and an England cricket fan. So we'll have a kind of discussion, and we can go rampage if it all be right before the World Cup. Right before
Your
the
video
World
will
Cup.
be all beep 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 beep.
सब वीडियो लगा, सब पॉडकास्ट खोले कहेंगे यार ये 40 मिनट का साइलेंट एपिसोड बड़ा अच्छा लगा मुझे यार. Anyways, the Asia Cup that's been going on right now, and इंडिया के लिए तो काफी लकी या अनलकी कह लो, पाकिस्तान के अगेंस्ट बॉलिंग करने का मौका नहीं मिला, नेपाल के अगेंस्ट थोड़ा बहुत आसान टारगेट हो गया. And when I was highlighting all of these issues against, when I was highlighting all of these issues with the bowling that India are kind of facing, I was highlighting them because when the bowling performance I saw against, I think Nepal was quite disappointing, because what Pakistan did was quite impressive. 130 pe all out kar diya tha, and India were kind of struggling. And they did get a few momentums where they were picking up wickets, but at the end of the day, I think rain saved them as well on that day, because chasing 230 for this Indian team would have been quite a difficult target, irrespective of who the opponent was.
I think this Pakistan team is very different. I mean, I somehow feel that it is much, much stronger than the previous Pakistan teams. It's very unfortunate that the game was washed out. I actually wanted to see how they chase it. I mean, they have all the capability in the world to do it. It's just that India-Pakistan pressure run chase game that could have brought the game in India's favor, but somehow I feel Indian bowlers would have been thrashed that day, and it would have been an easy 6 or 7 wickets win with 5 overs left. But I mean, it's a shame that the match didn't complete purely from a World Cup preparation point of view. But I think Pakistan has a great chance in this World Cup. Uh, but yeah, like we can discuss that when in future.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, it is. But the four teams who've made it to the Asia Cup Super Fours, and as expected, India, Pakistan, to nahi the. But the second group that we saw, Afghanistan getting really unlucky as well today,
Yeah.
so close, and they could have done it. And in the end, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka go through. Uh, well, I don't know why my standings are not updated for some reason. But anyways, yep, now it's updated. Sri Lanka and Bangladesh go through, and it sets up great matches for the Super Four as expected. Tomorrow we'll see Bangladesh well, when you guys see this episode, you'll be seeing Bangladesh versus Pakistan, and then Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan on Sunday again. So a chance for both parties to talk about each other again. All that hype being created around India, Pakistan is going to be incredible to see. Do you think India can make it through? Do you think India can beat Bangladesh and Pakistan, or maybe even Sri Lanka, and get through to the final?
See, on paper, we are always the best team, but I don't know, man. We fumble under pressure last, I think T20 Asia Cup. We didn't even reach where we wanted to, and Sri Lanka won it. So I don't know, man. It's really 50-50 to me. It could be Pakistan, Sri Lanka. I think Bangladesh is yet very raw. I think Bangladesh versus Afghanistan, Bangladesh win was an upset to me. I think Afghanistan really had a very bad day. uh, I don't. I think it'll be between India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, and most probably I think it'll be India, Pakistan final. But let's see. Sri Lanka surprises us every time. So, and Mendes is really playing well.
The
So
reason I
let's see.
say it'll be very embarrassing for us not to win this time is, or at least make it to the final, is because I think Bangladesh, we both agree कि थोड़ी weak squad है. So for them to even to make
Yes.
it out of that group is quite surprising, because I think favorites
Mm,
were Afghanistan and Sri Lanka to make it out. So kudos to them
mm,
for doing this, and it sets the bar kind of high. But at the same time, I think India should be able to easily beat Bangladesh. When it comes to Pakistan, India will struggle, and that's a fact. And it's not going to be an easy game for either of those teams, because quality bowlers dono side pe hai, and conditions will favor the bowlers a lot more than the batters in Sri Lanka when the game is held. And in terms of Sri Lanka, I feel like India should win the game, and it'll be embarrassing if we lose this game, because they're out of what, five of their key players, Hasaranga,
mm.
Prasidhana as well. I think five players are missing. So they don't have an excuse. I mean, Sri Lanka does have an excuse to say, "Okay, theek hai, we've got our key players missing," but India doesn't have an excuse to say, "Okay, yaar, theek hai, it was just a one-off game, semi-final. We lost again. It's fine. We come back next year. We'll do the same thing," and just make up those excuses, because that's just completely unacceptable. And India Pakistan का final देखने में मजा भी आएगा, और it'll be the kind of perfect setup to the World Cup कि 3 matches हो चुके हैं already, and then you'll have that game in Ahmedabad as well, and then I'm kind of hoping that India Pakistan is bar final of World Cup ka.
And
132,000 is gonna be an incredible match to see.
yeah, but I saw on a video, I think what only 5 to 10,000 are on sale. I don't know the remaining ones. Where are they going? I mean, it was shocking to hear that.
Yeah.
Um, but coming back to like uh, uh, this Super Four, so I think यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा अमित जय शाह को भी मतलब ब्लेम जाना चाहिए. आई डोंट सी व्हाई. मतलब जो पॉलिटिकल टेंशन्स हैं, मतलब खेल लेते यार पाकिस्तान में. मतलब ये जो श्रीलंका में जो अभी मौसम है, मतलब इट्स रियली, आई विल कम बैक टू द सेम थिंग, राइट? लाइक क्यों भाई बारिश हम क्यों देखें, मतलब क्यों देखें, मतलब व्हाई इज रेन इंटरप्टिंग? वर्ल्ड कप में नहीं इंटरप्ट करेगी इंडिया में, रेनी सीजन नहीं होगा उस समय, सो मोस्ट प्रोबब्ली 99% ऑल द गेम्स विल बी फुल गेम्स। पाकिस्तान में खेल लेते यार, मतलब देन यू वुड हैव, and then you would have got those 400. And I know we'll discuss Australia versus South Africa, in this podcast as well. But Australia is ready to score 400 plus
Yeah.
runs, and and Pakistan roads would have been really confidence booster. Kohli getting 100, or Rohit getting 100. I think it's a shame that we are playing in Sri Lanka. I mean, it doesn't make sense really, to
I
be
agree.
honest.
I think it's completely baseless to say that India doesn't feel secured in Pakistan. Yeah, Pakistan doesn't feel secured in India. Yeah, when you play cricket, right? I don't think I've ever heard in football nations say, yeah, we won't go to the Middle East because वहाँ पे ये है वो है. We won't go to this and that. And it's a great example. Great example is last year's Qatar World Cup. Everyone was opposed to it till the day it started. Every single fan was opposed to the fact that the World Cup is being held in a nation that has different rules, regulations, culture, because there is a certain football culture that has been created around the world, and that is something that's been followed throughout. And with cricket, it's always been India has always been at the upfront of creating that culture, and to a certain degree, the subcontinent itself. Everyone knows India games are always the most watched games, irrespective of who the opponent is. Whether it's Netherlands, whether it's England, whether it's Australia, it's always the most viewed games because of the fact that we bring quite a lot of volume in. And as being a nation which brings so much of volume and people to cricket, we should be representatives and should be the first ones to say, no, we'll make sure that Pakistan achieves the goal of holding the Asia Cup. We'll be the first ones to accommodate. We'll be the first ones to invite Pakistan over for the World Cup. Has Pakistan once said कि नहीं यार हम लोग अपने games नहीं खेलेंगे वहाँ पे? Let's play all our games at Dharamshala so that we can play the game, go back to Pakistan and come back every
एंड
time.
वहां पे तो आई थिंक ये जो इंग्लैंड या ऑस्ट्रेलिया आई थी, तो आई थिंक पूरे शहर की सिक्योरिटी उन्होंने क्रिकेट स्टेडियम के बाहर लगा दी थी। तो इफ दे आर
Exactly.
डूइंग दैट, आई मीन आई डोंट नो हाउ इट इज इम्पैक्टिंग देम इकोनॉमिकली, ऑब्वियसली मतलब उनके और
Mhm.
प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, विल नॉट गो इनटू दैट, बट आई थिंक यू शुड हैव प्लेड। और अगर पाकिस्तान नहीं तो कहीं मतलब आई डोंट नो मैन, श्रीलंका आपको पता नहीं था
आ-
क्या कि वहां बारिश
हाँ
होगी?
नहीं
आई
और
डोंट वांट
प्लस
सुपर फोर्स टू बी वॉच्ड आउट मैन, सीरियसली।
प्लस मुझे गुस्सा पता है सबसे ज्यादा बात इसका आया कि व्हेन आई वाज टॉकिंग टू अ फ्यू पीपल आई फाउंड आउट कि पाकिस्तान suggested a few grounds in Sri Lanka and India said no to those grounds, and the reason was because वहाँ पे इंडिया का रिकॉर्ड खराब है and India have either not played in those stadiums or just doesn't want to play because they know वो conditions won't suit Indian team. And I was like, yeah, this can't be true. And I checked it. I was like, yeah, seriously, this is true. Like this was happening. He's like, yeah. He's like, why do you think Sharjah didn't hold it? Because India hasn't played a game in Sharjah since the last time they lost because they lost so embarrassingly. That's how political it gets. India refuses to play at Sharjah. If you notice, what was it? The Asia Cup that was held in Dubai, right? Every team
Yeah,
played in
yeah.
Dubai and Sharjah, and India was the only team who played in one stadium because India didn't want to play a game in Sharjah because their record was very bad in
And
it.
what's the
It
most amusing thing is that you have all this domination, you
exactly.
have that all that money, but still you can't get above semifinals,
Or
man.
and as a fan, when I hear all of these theories now, and then when we lose, and even if we win, मुझे पता है कहीं ना कहीं ऐसा लगता है कि even if we win, that 2011 World Cup क्यों special था? Because we didn't ever hear about these things. कभी ऐसा नहीं लगता था
हाँ,
कि यार
exactly.
इंडिया कभी ऐसे now all of this is happening openly, and as a fan, you're like, यार seriously,
हम्म।
if we win the World Cup, do we even deserve it? Do we deserve it if it's kind of set up
यार
in a way to help us win?
वही वही तो, एंड whenever this कोहली proudly says, I mean कि भाई I didn't win a World Cup but I was always in the semifinals, bro. There are only there are only 8 teams that compete, and like only 4 teams that are actually competing, and then
Exactly.
you are reaching the semifinal. What is the achievement in that? I mean, I
भाई
don't understand what is the achievement in that.
रियलिस्टिकली देखा जाए तो एवरी वर्ल्ड कप इज बिटवीन इंडिया पाकिस्तान इंग्लैंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड न्यूजीलैंड
New
एंड द
Zealand,
रेस्ट ऑफ दोस आर
South
काइंड ऑफ
Africa
जस्ट
chokes.
साउथ अफ्रीका चोक कर देता है श्रीलंका चोक कर देता है एवरी नाउ एंड देन यू सी एन अपसेट बट उसके बाद भी रिजल्ट क्या होता है यही 4 टीम्स लड़ रही होती 5 टीम्स एंड काइंड ऑफ जस्ट द वर्ल्ड कप finishes off that way. So it is very surprising for me to see India kind of going and doing all of these kind of things with these tactics, it makes sense कि यार आप इंडियन पिचेस को ऐसे बनाओ कि इंडिया फेवर करे. That's how it goes. होम वर्ल्ड कप्स ऐसे ही होते हैं. इंग्लैंड अपने में किया था, ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने जब होल्ड किया था ऐसे ही किया था, एंड लास्ट टाइम इंडिया ने जब ऐसे किया था. दैट मेक्स सेंस. पिचेस, गो फॉर इट. दैट्स योर कॉल. ब्लैक सॉइल लगाना है आपको, स्पिन पिचेस बनानी है आपको, अनप्लेएबल पिचेस बनानी है फॉर एवरी अदर टीम, गो फॉर इट. दैट मेक्स सेंस. वो तो आपकी कंडीशंस है. बट टू थिंक कि हम लोग इस टीम को इस स्टेडियम में नहीं खिलाएंगे क्योंकि ये इनका रिकॉर्ड अच्छा है, हम लोग इस स्टेडियम में नहीं खेलेंगे क्योंकि हम लोग इससे हार गए थे, या ये, that's a bit too over the top, यार. I think for me
And, and
that's where your credibility, you lose your credibility.
yeah, and just another point on कि भाई सेमीफाइनल्स में आउट, तो इफ यू सी हम नॉकआउट्स में हार जाते हैं, राइट? इफ यू सी द 2011 वर्ल्ड कप, इट वाज द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट वर्ल्ड कप. इफ अगर आपका आर्गुमेंट ये है कि हम नॉकआउट्स में हार जाते हैं, भाई उसमें क्वार्टर फाइनल भी था. अब तो आपका क्वार्टर फाइनल नहीं होता, अब तो आप पूरी लीग जीत के जाते हो, सीधे सेमीफाइनल खेलते हो, और एक नॉकआउट खेलना होता है, वो भी हार जाते हो. वहां तो हमने 3 नॉकआउट जीते थे तब
हम्म.
हम, मतलब that was even more difficult than these current and again I think जो the point that you are saying कि BCI का domination and they want everything in favor of India, अब तो मुझे यही लग रहा है क्योंकि इंडिया परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाती नॉकआउट्स में, तो अब हम देख रहे हैं कि वर्ल्ड कप पूरा लीग फॉर्मेट में होता है.
एग्जैक्टली. भाई हमेशा से ये देखा कि 2011 में कितनी टीम्स थी, आई थिंक 16 टीम्स थी ना, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, एंड इट्स
हाँ
बीन हाफ्ड
हाँ
ऑलमोस्ट. तो इट्स क्वाइट एम्बैरेसिंग टू हैव वेस्ट इंडीज नॉट बी एबल टू प्ले. ठीक है, कुछ कुछ ऐसी टीमें हैं जो आ जाती है वर्ल्ड कप में विच आर वीक, बट एट द सेम टाइम फुटबॉल में भी ऐसे ही होता है, रग्बी में भी ऐसे होता है, एवरीथिंग होता है. इट्स लाइक, अगर इफ आई हैड टू गिव एन एनालॉजी ऑफ व्हाट दिस लुक्स लाइक, इज लाइक जब यूएस में कोई एनबीए चैंपियंस होता है, दे कॉल देमसेल्व्स वर्ल्ड चैंपियंस, and all they do is play US teams and consider themselves as
yeah
US champions. हो सकता है they might be the strongest in the world, but are they considered world champions if they've only played 5 or 6 kind of teams?
yeah
It doesn't work like that. It's like saying
yeah
यार ठीक है 5 टीमें रख लेते हैं, नेक्स्ट पता लगा 10 years from now वर्ल्ड कप कौन कर खेल रहा है, इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, इंग्लैंड, दैट्स इट. 4 टीम्स, 2 सेमीफाइनल, फाइनल खत्म, खेल लो, चलो हो गया. तो ऐसे थोड़ी होता है. That's not how the World Cup works. And the sad part is the news that's coming out about tickets. And as I've always said, and this podcast is based around the whole fact of fans having a voice in cricket, and being able to share their being able to have a platform to share their thoughts. The last thing they want to hear is news about tickets being kind of smuggled through sponsors and being sold out before even they go on sale, because somewhere we've all been reading these news about, the India Pakistan game. 132,000 seats should have been kind of available for people to buy, and out of those only 10-15,000 were kind of given to the public audience, and before that everything else was sold out. So it is very embarrassing as a nation to hear news like this, because when you host the World Cups, you're not just it's not the home advantage that you're doing it for. You're representing yourselves at a world stage when billions of people watch you, how you organize a tournament, how you handle situations, everything. There are higher stakes, but there are higher rewards. So you want to make sure you show yourselves. If India is planning to hold something like an Olympic kind of event, which I'm hearing in 2036, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, do we think it's ready? Not at all. Not at all. With the way this has been handled, is quite embarrassing. And I don't think I've heard this happen when the World Cup was in England. I didn't hear any of this when it was in Australia. And to hear all of this, it's very embarrassing, because we are a nation that prides on being the greatest, team in cricket history. We produce the greatest talents: Sachin Tendulkar, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Kohli. These guys are some of the top people. So when you have the caliber, you need to be able to respect firstly the players, the fans. Cricket without the fans is nothing. आप भर दो भाई, 1 लाख लोग भर दो कोई रैंडम कहीं से भी आके, या फेवर टिकट्स करके, वो मजा नहीं आएगा आपको.
नहीं
वो मजा
आएगा.
नहीं आएगा जब आप को 1 लाख फैंस एक साथ गा रहे होंगे नेशनल एंथम ना. that's when that's when the players goosebumps kick in. That's when it kind of makes the difference for them.
Absolutely.
And the last thing you want to see is people who have kind of bought tickets in advance, because they had some kind of connection to be able to get those, and they're just sat at the stadium enjoying their day, and they're more concerned about how they look at the stadium compared to the game that's going on, or the quality of cricket that's being played. So
Yeah, yeah. True.
it's, and India Pakistan World Cup games हर बार होते, but at a stadium like Ahmedabad कभी नहीं होता. And I don't think it's going to happen for a while now. So
Yeah.
132,000, the one thing you want is to set up one of the greatest shows in cricket, you know. And let's be honest, when we talk about 130, it's not going to be ऐसा गेम नहीं है कि जहाँ पे सीट्स खाली होंगी. भाई कोई सीट नहीं खाली होगी. एक सीट
सीट
कोई
खाली।
I already know some people who
बाहर
call that.
होंगे, बाहर होंगे
Exactly.
लोग।
Exactly. And I can bet you बाहर हजारों लोग बैठे होंगे कि भाई तू किसी कोई just name a price and I'll buy the ticket. There will be
या
so many people who will be doing that. And and as a
बट इट
cricket fan,
डिपेंड्स ना कि इंडिया पहुंचती भी है कि नहीं। अच्छा, यू टॉकिंग अबाउट द इंडिया
हाँ,
पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट।
नॉट नॉट जस्ट दैट, मैं उसी पे आने वाला था। मैंने कहा, मैं कह रहा था, कहने वाला था कि यार इवन इवन अ वर्ल्ड कप फाइनल मैंने 2019 का, लकीली आई वाज एबल टू वॉच इट लाइव एट द स्टेडियम,
ओह
and
ग्रेट।
it ended up being one of the greatest cricket
गेम्स एवर।
festivals or games in the world, right? But obviously, when I had the tickets, actually I didn't have the tickets. So this is a story time. I actually I was alone, and I kind of didn't know if I was going to get the tickets to the final or not. And when India got knocked out in the semi-final, I got the tickets after that, and I was like, "Yeah, I wish India was here. I wish India was here." But when I went to the game, I was like, "No, it doesn't matter if India was here or not, because the two teams who deserve to be here." And when I watched that quality of cricket on the field, and I was like, "Okay, this is impressive." You know, these two
यप।
teams have fought for the last month to be able to come here, and it's still going down to the wire. And dive kar rahe. They're risking everything, putting everything on the line, and that's what made it so special. So someone like me, I'm trying to get myself tickets to the next World Cup final. I'm like, यार मुझे जाना है, मुझे देखना है, irrespective, यार नेदरलैंड्स आ जाए, साउथ अफ्रीका आ जाए, मुझे नहीं फर्क पड़ता, कोई भी जीत जाए. But I want to see the game. I want to see the passion these guys have to win the World Cup. The emotions that come with it. So as a
How many
fan, it
times in our life will we get to see, experience that World Cup atmosphere, right? Like,
exactly.
and the worst thing is, uh, uh, you don't get to see it because of this, corruption and these kind of things. I mean, it's cricket is for the people. If you remove the people, nothing is there. All the money that BCCI has, all the money that these players have, the attitude. When I see all the attitude in the press conference of Kohli, Rohit तो is fine,
भाई
but
मुझे मुझे एक
Kohli
सेकंड,
was very violent.
मैं थोड़ा सा इंटरप्ट करूंगा इधर. भाई रोहित ने उस दिन क्या बोला था? He's like when asked about if you have the quality of bowlers as an Indian
हाँ,
cricket team captain, do you ever go on press conference and say, no, we do not have the quality of bowlers like Shaheen Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf? Do you ever say that? As अगर मैं मोहम्मद सिराज हूँ, शामी हूँ, बुमराह हूँ, मैं अपने होटल में बैठा हूँ, मैं प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस देख रहा हूँ, मैं कह रहा हूँ यार ये क्या बोल रहा है, ये मेरी टीम का कैप्टन है क्या? It was, और मुझे पता, पहले लगा कि यार ये आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट है, मुझे लगा यार होता है ना कभी कभार क्लिप्स कट के वो ट्विटर पे सोशल मीडिया पे आते हैं, तो
हाँ,
आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट कुछ बोला होगा कि यार वी कैन मैच द क्वालिटी या समथिंग. तो मैंने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस खोली, मैंने कहा यार लेट मी सी द 5 seconds बिफोर, 5 seconds आफ्टर, जस्ट टू सी. आई वाज लाइक, नो, ही एक्चुअली सेड द वर्ड्स कि पाकिस्तान हैज बेटर फास्ट बॉलर्स, एंड हो सकता है हो, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दे नॉट, क्योंकि वी सॉ दैट ऑन ऑन 10 विकेट्स लिए यार उन लोगों ने. इट्स नॉट एन इजी
नहीं,
टास्क. तो
इससे मुझे याद आया कमेंट्री पैनल में गौतम गंभीर भिड़ गया था वसीम अकरम से। उस वसीम अकरम वाज सेइंग दैट शाहीन शाह अफरीदी इज द बेस्ट बॉलर। तो उस पे गौतम गंभीर का ओपिनियन पूछा गया, ही सेड नो आई डोंट अग्री, बुमराह इज आल्सो कंपेरेबल टू शाहीन शाह। तो अगर वो कमेंट्री पैनल पे जहाँ पे उसको शुगर कोट करना होता है,
एग्जैक्टली.
वहां पे वो वैसे लड़ जाता है, तो तुम्हारा पैशन का एंड गौतम गंभीर के सामने तुम कुछ नहीं हो भाई। मतलब ही वाज द
एग्जैक्टली.
वन हु, बिकॉज ऑफ whom we have got two वर्ल्ड कप्स इन आवर बैग। सो रोहित शर्मा का तो यार मुझे लगता है कि ही लूजेस द गेम्स मेंटली।
हम्म.
मतलब इतना वो ड्रामा क्रिएट कर देता है ना अराउंड एवरीथिंग। लाइक जब उसको मतलब एकदम ही सीरियस ले लेगा कि वी आर फॉलोइंग अ टेम्पलेट टेम्पलेट टेम्पलेट, भाई टेम्पलेट तुम्हारा कहाँ गया था? तुम्हारा टेम्पलेट गायब ही हो गया पिछले वर्ल्ड कप के सेमीफाइनल में। मतलब इंग्लैंड के खिलाफ आई वॉज द वन हु वाज शाउटिंग, एवरीवन वाज राइडिंग ऑफ इंग्लैंड। मतलब कि क्या मतलब, एंड भाई पता था कि उनके ओपनर्स ही तुम्हें मार डालेंगे, एंड मार दिया। तुमको इंग्लैंड के खिलाफ 200 प्लस स्कोर करना था। दैट वाज द टाइम व्हेन यू हैड टू शो योर टेम्पलेट। एंड तब तुम्हारा टेम्पलेट पता नहीं कहाँ गया, यू आर जस्ट डिफेंडिंग। मतलब रोहित शर्मा का मतलब मुझे लगता है थोड़ा माइंड खराब रहता है। ही नीड्स सम काउंसलिंग मैन, आई डोंट नो। आई विश ही विंस द वर्ल्ड कप, बट ही नीड्स काउंसलिंग।
Adding on to your point of Rohit Sharma needing some kind of therapy, if I should say, or professional help, I think I agree to a certain point. यार मेरे हिसाब से कैप्टनसी जो मैंने रोहित, and you might not have the same opinion, but जो मैंने कैप्टनसी कोहली के अंडर देखी ना, जो एग्रेसिव नेचर जो इंडिया का था, बिफोर कोहली एंड धोनी, नो वन यूज्ड टू रिस्पेक्ट द इंडियन टीम्स. लेट्स बी ऑनेस्ट, जब हम लोग इंडिया जाती थी कहीं पे भी, ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड इंग्लैंड स्पेसिफिकली, जब जाते थे, देयर वाज नो रिस्पेक्ट फॉर इंडिया. दे वी वर जस्ट काइंड ऑफ द नेदरलैंड्स, द आयरलैंड्स फॉर देम. कि आ रहे हैं ये लोग, 2-3 गेम्स खेलेंगे, चले जाएंगे, खत्म. थोड़ा बहुत फियास्को इधर उधर होता था बस, तो जस्ट बिकॉज थोड़े बहुत फैंस होते थे बस इसलिए. बट जो रिस्पेक्ट आई थिंक गांगुली के कैप्टनसी के बाद से शुरू हुई है अंडर धोनी बिकॉज ऑफ विनिंग द वर्ल्ड कप एंड एवरीथिंग, एंड देन कोहली ने उसको एम्पलीफाई किया एक एग्रेसिव नेचर दिखा के कि भाई हम लोग इतनी आसानी से नहीं हारने वाले। तुम लोग को लग रहा है कि ये तुम लोग का बैकयार्ड है, मैं तुम्हारे बैकयार्ड में आके तुम्हें हराऊंगा। दैट लॉर्ड्स परफॉर्मेंस, दैट हडल दैट वी सॉ, कोई और कैप्टन नहीं कर सकता। एंड दैट ऑरा ऑफ विराट कोहली वाज रिक्वायर्ड विद द इंडियन टीम, क्योंकि उस टाइम पर हम लोग के पास काफी यंगस्टर्स थे। और जो जिस तरह से आप कैप्टन लीड करता है वैसे ही यंगस्टर होंगे। And right now, the culture is completely shifted from being aggressive, being dangerous, being ruthless to your opponent. I'm not saying कि फील्ड के बाहर जाके आप हाथ ना मिलाओ, फील्ड के बाहर जाके आप उनको गलत चीजें बोलो, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ, that's completely different. But when you step on the field, when I see Kohli interact with Pakistani players outside the field practice sessions में हंसी मजाक, I'm like I'm very happy to see those kind of moments, because वो हम लोग को as cricket fans कभी देखने को मिला ही नहीं। इंडियन टीम इंटरेक्टिंग इन अ फन वे विद एवरी अदर टीम, वो कभी देखने को मिला ही नहीं। बट व्हाट कोहली ने अपने अंडर क्या कल्चर रखा था कि भाई जब मैच शुरू होता है, जब एम्पायर कहता है प्ले बॉल, उसके बाद से यू आर अगेंस्ट मी एंड आई विल मेक श्योर दैट आई गेट अंडर योर स्किन, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's Australia, whether it's Sri Lanka, whether it's any other team. And that's what Kohli instigated. Under Rohit Sharma, it's like off the field, on the field, दोनों जगह हंसी मजाक हो रहा है। एंड ही टेक्स इट सो लाइटली कि भाई मेरी तो जॉब सिक्योर है, मैंने तो अपना करियर बना लिया, तुम्हें अपना का फिक्र है, तुम अपना आके परफॉर्म करो, तुम अपना करो। दैट्स द काइंड ऑफ एटीट्यूड दैट आई सी अंडर रोहित शर्मा। इसीलिए मैंने लास्ट टाइम बोला था कि रेड बॉल कैप्टनसी तो कोहली को हटाना ही नहीं चाहिए था। कोई कोई और कैप्टन है ऐसा जिसका रिकॉर्ड रहा है कोहली की तरह? कोई और ऐसा एग्रेसिव कैप्टन है? नहीं है। बिकॉज टेस्ट मैच बहुत मेंटल गेम है, फिजिकली डिमांडिंग बॉलर्स के लिए है थोड़ा बहुत, बट मेंटली बहुत डिमांडिंग है। वो आपको
एब्सोल्युटली।
रोज 5 दिन इन अ रो, आपको 5 दिन मेंटली प्रिपेयर्ड रहना है कि आपको एक बॉल भी बैटर को या ऑपोजिशन को अबव यू नहीं आने देना है किसी भी सिचुएशन में। दैट इज वाई व्हेन ऑस्ट्रेलिया इंग्लैंड व्हेन वी सी दीज डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज बिहाइंड द सीन्स, हम लोग क्या देखते हैं? वी डोंट सी देम ब्रेकिंग द डे डाउन, वी डोंट सी देम talking about the whole test match as a whole. They break it down to sessions, they break it down to overs. They're like भाई लंच के सेशन हम लोगों ने ये करा था, मिडिल सेशन में ये हुआ था, टी सेशन में ये हुआ था, एंड दैट इज व्हाट मेक्स अ गुड टीम। इंडिया के अंदर आई डोंट सी दैट स्ट्रक्चर राइट नाउ। Do we really think this Indian team goes to the dressing room after a loss or even after a win? Even after a win, Australia were like कि नहीं हम लोगों ने लंच क्यों हारा? Why did we lose this session? Why did we lose this part of this match? क्यों हारे? Let's go and reassess this. India is like, कहीं लगता नहीं है कि वो लोग जाके कहते होंगे कि यार आज ये फॉल्ट थी, ये फॉल्ट थी, ये प्लेयर फॉल्ट में था, ये प्लेयर फॉल्ट में था, लेट्स वर्क ऑन दिस नाउ। ये होता नहीं। आई डोंट थिंक एनीवनस पॉइंटिंग फिंगर्स, एंड आई एम नॉट सेइंग यू शुड पॉइंट फिंगर्स टू अ पॉइंट वेयर यू इरिटेट द अदर पर्सन, बट यू नीड टू पॉइंट फिंगर्स इनफ टू गेट द अदर पर्सन टू रियलाइज कि भाई तेरी गलती है, तू उससे की कर अब इसको, it's on you now. And as a team, take the initiative to give each other constructive criticism to improve yourself and the ones around you. I'm not saying कि जाके यार मीडिया में जाके बोल दो के एल राहुल बेकार है, या बोल दो कि मोहम्मद शामी से बेटर तो शाहीन अफरीदी है। I'm not saying that. But we need to, as Indian teams, we need to take responsibility and say कि यार ये this is what we need to improve. And वो structure दिखता नहीं है। Even though we talk, as you said, रोहित शर्मा बहुत कहता है ना कि उन लोग के पास प्लान है, ये है वो है। कहाँ है वो प्लान भाई? कहाँ है? 3 साल हो गए ना कैप्टनसी मिले हुए, 2 साल हो गए, कहाँ है? कुछ कुछ जीता अभी तक? कुछ करा हम लोगों ने? कुछ नहीं किया।
मतलब I personally felt betrayed man, like in that final, I mean 2 साल आपने टेम्पलेट किया है, like uh, you actually played that kind of fearless cricket, but at the end of the day उस मैच में क्या हो गया फिर? वैसे विराट कोहली का स्ट्राइक रेट वाज 130, आपका स्ट्राइक रेट वाज 100। वो तो मतलब हार्दिक पांड्या ने बचा लिया। मतलब बैक करो ना भाई अपने स्किल्स को, जो आपने प्लान बनाया उसको बैक तो करो। व्हाई आर यू चेंजिंग दैट प्लान? मतलब एंड स्पेशली अगेंस्ट इंग्लैंड, आप अगर पाकिस्तान के अगेंस्ट करते या किसी के अगेंस्ट करते समझ में भी आता है, बिकॉज इंग्लैंड इज लाइक एन एक्सप्लोसिव लाइन। अब आपने वो टेम्पलेट बनाया ही उन्हीं जैसे टीमों के लिए था, जो एकदम फ्रॉम द वर्ड गो दे आर हैमरिंग यू, दे डोंट केयर अबाउट लूजिंग विकेट्स। एंड मतलब मेरे को ये नहीं समझ में आता है, रोहित शर्मा इज सच अ कंफ्यूज पर्सन एंड आई डोंट नो व्हाई दिस इज द केस। एटलीस्ट विराट कोहली के केस में ही वाज वेरी क्लियर विद व्हाट ही नीडेड फ्रॉम द प्लेयर्स, एंड ही एग्जीक्यूटेड दैट एंड ही बैक्ड हिज प्लेयर्स। प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में कितनी बार ही यूज्ड टू फाइट फॉर हिज प्लेयर्स। इधर रोहित शर्मा आई डोंट नो मैन, लाइक क्या कितना इसकी कॉमरेडरी है क्या? एंड what I don't understand is I had lot of expectations from Rahul Dravid, but I somehow find him absent, man. I don't know if he's taking any decisions for the team. Uh, we don't get to hear a lot about how Dravid is coaching this team, but somehow I find him, हमको उनकी कितनी मदद मिल रही है हमारी टीम को. द्रविड इज अ लेजेंड ऑफ द गेम. Obviously he has a lot to tell to every batsman, every cricketer out there. बट मुझे नहीं समझ आता कि क्यों द्रविड़ इतना एब्सेंट लगता है. कुछ मतलब एक होता है ना यार कि जो
हम्म.
कोच की एक पर्सनालिटी होती है. जैसे जस्टिन लैंगर की एक पर्सनालिटी थी. ही वाज ऑलवेज रनिंग हियर एंड देयर एंड ही वाज लाइक. मुझे तो बहुत पसंद था पर्सनली, बट ऑफ कोर्स उसका फियास्को हो गया उसके साथ, पैट कमिंस के साथ. But I would love to swap, Justin Langer with Rahul Dravid any day. So I don't know,
भाई.
man. We can discuss it on some other day because that is not this podcast
हाँ.
main topic. But I think Rahul Dravid, he should be, I should
नहीं.
not use
हाँ.
this word because I respect him a lot, but he should be sacked, man.
जस्ट टू काइंड ऑफ एंड दिस काइंड ऑफ पॉइंट, आई वुड से कि यार इंडिया में दो चीज़ें जो सर्टनली कभी जिंदगी में नहीं होने वाली हैं इज having two captains for different formats. I mean, having a different captain for each format, and then having a coach that's not Indian, or maybe outsourcing a coach. पहले होता था, अब पता नहीं एकदम से इनको हो गया कि नहीं भाई, मेड इन इंडिया करना है सब कुछ, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, हार जाएंगे लेकिन इंडिया कोच को. भाई ठीक है यार, हो सकता है बाहर की स्किल कुछ अलग हो, कोई डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव मिले प्लेयर्स को, यू नो. होता है. इंडिया, पाकिस्तान इज डन इट, इंडिया इज डन इट. इंडिया वर्ल्ड कप किसके अंडर जीता भाई? एक फॉरेन कोच के अंदर जीता था. इट वाज इन अंडर इंडियन कोच. एंड आई एम नॉट सेइंग इंडियन कोचेस आर नॉट गुड, बट भाई एक डिफरेंट पर्सपेक्टिव मिलता है. एंड दैट पर्सपेक्टिव इज समटाइम्स नाइस टू हैव अराउंड, क्योंकि वो जैसे इफ यू हैव एन ऑस्ट्रेलियन कोच, ही नोज द इन्स एंड आउट ऑफ द ऑस्ट्रेलिया टीम. अगर जस्टिन लैंगर आता है इंडिया में कोच करने के, ही नोज द इन्स एंड आउट ऑफ द ऑस्ट्रेलियन टीम. दैट हेल्प्स अस, एंड it really does.
So
But
I had a question for you. So let's build a parallel between, cricket and football. Why is it that in football the manager or the coach is so talked about, but in cricket it's the captain who is talked about and not the coach?
आई कंप्लीटली एग्री कि कैप्टन से ज्यादा कोच को अपहेल्ड करना चाहिए. एट द एंड ऑफ द डे कोच ही डिसाइड करता है ना भाई. प्लेइंग 11 कोच डिसाइड करता है. कैप्टनसी तो सिर्फ अपनी इनपुट देता है कि भाई मैंने ट्रेनिंग में इसको अच्छा देखा, मैंने उसको देखा. एंड आई थिंक क्रिकेट इज मोर ऑफ एन इंडिविजुअल गेम देन फुटबॉल. दैट्स व्हाई. क्योंकि व्हेन अ बैटर स्टेप्स आउट टू बैट, ही इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द रन्स ही मेक्स. As a footballer, you can't alone take your team to some situations. Obviously, होते हैं कि यार, I'm not going to outright say that Messi is not kind of that person who carries the team on his back. But in cricket, I think it's more of a थोड़ा individual performances matter करता है. That's why players are looked at individually a lot more than singled out a lot more. And captaincy, in my opinion, I think uh, we haven't asked. I think I would say that we haven't asked a lot of questions of Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid, both of them equally. We've not asked enough questions of them. रवि शास्त्री और विराट कोहली के, मैं याद है एवरी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस दोनों को हैमर किया जाता था. मीडिया को जो सवाल पूछना था वो आउटराइट मुंह पे पूछते थे. इन लोग के साथ ऐसा लगता है मीडिया मजाक वाले सवाल पूछ रहे. क्या आपको लगता है कल आप
मजाक,
जीतेंगे?
हाँ.
नहीं भाई, मुझे नहीं लगता मैं जीतूंगा. यार क्या मतलब है यार, मैं क्या जवाब दूं? ऐसे सवाल करके क्या फायदा होने वाला आपका? मीडिया का भी कोई फायदा नहीं, ना टीम का कोई फायदा. आप बैठाए हुए हो रोहित शर्मा को 1 घंटा. अब वो जैसे वो जो वर्ल्ड कप, जो एशिया कप की अनाउंसमेंट की प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस थी, उसमें किसी ने कुछ सवाल पूछा तो कहने लगा मैं बताता हूँ मेरा प्लान क्या है, अगर होगा तो मैं और कोहली बॉलिंग करने चले जाएंगे. भाई कौन कहता है प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में ऐसा? ये आप वर्ल्ड कप के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो? Anyways, it's a conversation that we'll try and keep for another episode. But just to end this episode quickly, to cover the Australia versus South Africa games, I know T20, but obviously any kind of white ball cricket helps teams develop. And the way Australia has been playing without the 4 key players that we talk about so often is incredible to see. Mitchell Marsh, I want to point him out as well. We posted a
Yeah.
few things about him. The way he's played 92 in one of the innings, 79 not out, and then obviously the third one wasn't that good, but he is explosive, and if he makes the final squad, it'll be dangerous for him, because he was playing spin well, he's playing fast well. भाई उसको सिर्फ बॉल चाहिए, कोई भी बॉल डाले, बॉल चाहिए बस, स्टैंड में जानी चाहिए,
And
खत्म. एंड
and I kind of feel happy for him also because I think Australian fans are too critical of Mitchell Marsh. I don't know why do people hate Mitchell Marsh? I don't know. जो वर्ल्ड कप आपने जीता था फाइनल अभी T20 का, वो भी मिचेल मार्श की वजह से ही जीता था. So I kind of, I know I'm an Indian fan and I don't want India to lose against Australia, but I kind of, I'm very happy for Mitchell Marsh and great to see him perform at, like the way he's doing. And क्लियर है भाई, ऑस्ट्रेलिया और इंग्लैंड का अब क्लियर है कि इंडिया जाना है, खेलना है ऐसे पिचों पे. तो लखनऊ हटा दो, लखनऊ की पिच तो मतलब पता नहीं क्या बना दी है. आई थिंक फॉरेन वॉरेन की पिच बना दी है. ग्राउंड भी एकदम फॉरेन जैसा लगता है. ऐसे इंडिया में मतलब मैं तो गया हूँ, मैं सारे मैच देखता हूँ लखनऊ के, तो वहां पे फैंस भी नहीं लगाए हैं. जो मतलब लंबे
हाँ
लंबे फैंस लगा देते हैं ना इंडिया
हाँ
में कि वो बोतल वोतल
हाँ
फेंकेंगे,
हाँ।
वो भी नहीं लगाए हैं। मतलब ऐसा लगता है फॉरेन वॉरेन का ग्राउंड है, और इतना बड़ा बना दिया है बिल्कुल फील्ड वील्ड तो। लखनऊ का तो हटा दो, बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट इन एवरी ग्राउंड आई सी 400 प्लस बीइंग स्कोर्ड बाय अ गुड टीम। सो बहुत बढ़िया
हम्म,
प्रिपरेशन चल रही है ऑस्ट्रेलिया इंग्लैंड की, एंड वी आर लेवल्स बिलो देम राइट नाउ। आई डोंट थिंक वी आर एट दैट लेवल, बिकॉज आई डोंट थिंक वी हैव हिटर्स
हम्म,
द वे वी हैड इन टू 2011। लाइक मतलब जिस तरह से रैना और युवराज मारने लगते थे, I don't think we have those kind of players now जो मतलब अचानक से एकदम हार्दिक पांड्या I don't trust man, like he does perform at in crucial matches, but he's not the kind of player who you expect to score at a 200 strike rate whenever you need it. He will do it once or twice in 5 games, but not always. So I don't know, man. How I am kind of scared from like Australia, England, and in subcontinent I think Pakistan. So these three teams
हम्म।
definitely watch out for.
Completely agree. I think Australia has got a very good chance. The depth they have is very incredible. It's quite incredible to see यार, कि प्लेयर्स को वो लोग ऐसे स्वैप कर लेते हैं और पता भी नहीं लगता कि भाई हाँ ये खेला ही नहीं था, मतलब मिशेल मार्श खेल ही नहीं रहा था इतने दिनों से, उसके बाद भी आके उसने ये कर दिया भाई, मतलब अलग ही एक
हाँ
लेवल का वो कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्ड करता है अपनी टीम में. इट्स नाइस टू सी, obviously as Indian fans you want to see India win, but at the same time you want to see a lot of quality cricket, which I think this World Cup will present itself with, and it's going to be very exciting to watch this World Cup. And
absolutely.
so yes, right before I end this video, this podcast, thank you for coming on. It's been great to have you on, and I would love to have you on regularly on this podcast. Really, it's been a great discussion, and thank you for giving us your time. Those of you guys watching, make sure you follow Suyash, and make sure you follow the podcast and all the news around it, because we've been posting every day, and your support has been incredible. I must say that on every video that we've been posting, and we're going to be coming up with a lot of new content as well, meme reacts and a lot of those kind of react videos on cricket, because that's what you want to see. You want to see some fun
Yeah,
content, not
absolutely.
just some serious talks. So thank you guys for watching this podcast. Make sure to leave a like, rating, subscribe, add us to your playlist. It really helps us a lot, and we follow us on social media for daily updates and news. And I'll see you guys next time. Until then, stay safe.